guys, welcome back to another episode of Over a Cup of Tips. I am Shemaine Hernandez.
And I'm Daniel Sarmiento from the University of Santo Tomas Senior High School, your hosts for this episode.
Just sit back, relax, and enjoy a cup of tip
as we listen to The Art of Managing, tips on how to become an efficient and effective manager.
Today's episode is really special because we have invited a special guest who has 5 years of experience in BDO. Please welcome Ma'am Janice.
Hi, good afternoon. By the way, I'm Janice Yandok, currently employed at BDO for about 15 years. But as a manager, I'm being handled the manager for collections and remedial department for 5 years.
Okay, thank you so much for that information. And before we start, we actually have prepared a game. Are you familiar with the Fast Talk po?
Yeah,
Okay, so you have a few seconds to answer. Are you ready?
yeah, go on.
High salary but low productivity or low salary with creativity?
High salary, of course. We have to be practical.
Practical.
Yeah.
Take the risk or lose the chance?
Take the risk. Always take the risk. You'll never know the result unless you take the risk.
Okay. Resist for a change or open for a change?
Open. Always open for a change. Change is constant.
Need to supervise every step or be self-motivated to complete their tasks.
You need to be self-motivated.
Work independently or work collaboratively.
Collaboratively.
Have no incentive to work or view work as fulfilling.
View your work as fulfilling.
Okay, that's a wrap for our Fast Talk. Thank you so much. That is really interesting. Don't you think so too, Daniel?
I sure do. Kaya naman, what are we waiting for? Let's head on to the main event.
To get to know you better po, we have prepared a questions that is related to your work po. First, can we ask what is your scope of work po?
Yeah, I am currently handling and engaged in collections and remediation of those past due accounts for BDO auto loans and housing loans. So that is my current job and scope of work.
And as a senior manager, can we ask, are you handling any subordinates po? And if yes, how many?
Yeah, I'm currently handling and supervising at least 6 junior managers.
Okay, for the first question, can we ask, how did you get in that line of work po?
Of course, at first, I did not choose this line of work because this work is so stressing and very complicated, especially when it comes to legal matters. But to me, from marketing, I was first a marketing associate at the bank or relationship manager. Nakikita ba niyo sa mga branches? Yung pag nag-open ng mga accounts, yon. So, yun ang unang line of work ko. It's enjoyable, but for me, naging boring type of work ang nangyari sa akin doon kasi in an everyday, day-to-day life in my branches, pare-pareho lang. So, it's just a matter of opening, relationship with the depositors, mga upcoming new opening of accounts. So, I just got bored for that matter. So, inisip ko, ano yung mas magiging challenging for me on a day-to-day basis. And that happened 10 years ago when BDO launched a vacancy on the remedial and collection department. So, I applied for this position and luckily na nakuha naman tayo.
Okay, congratulations for that po. Now, let's move on to the next question.
So, I'm sure being a manager is not easy po. So, can you please tell us some of the challenges you have faced from the years you have worked as a manager po?
Of course, every employee, hindi naman siya mag-i-start right there and there na magiging manager ka. You will be entering the bank as a rank and file position. When you newly graduate ka, like kayo, mga newly graduate, once na gumraduate kayo, you will not enter into the business naman or into the company naman na right there and there, magiging manager ka. So you would start on an open entry level, that is rank and file. So pag rank and file ka, of course, yung mga admin tasks lang yung assigned task sa'yo, responsibility mo, but more on when natututo ka sa mga ganun, of course, years by years kailangan mo mag-level up. So level up, which means more responsibility, higher risk, and higher accountability. So when you reach being a manager, you are obliged to perform, of course, perform and reach the target. But when you reach the target, you also have to manage the risk. Okay? So, mahirap. So, mahirap in a sense na, of course, yung risk na yun, may kaakibat yun na legal matters in my line of work because I am in a legal department handling yung mga foreclosure. When you say foreclosure, ito yung mga customers or clients that are granted ng loan but unfortunately they were not able to settle their obligations, whether it's auto loan or whether it's housing loan. So pagka hindi nila na fulfill o hindi nila nababayaran yung mga monthly amortizations nila, of course the bank has a legal process on it. So being a manager, okay, I am not more on focus on handling yung mga subordinates lang. I am also seeing the rants and yung mga problema ng mga clients. How will you handle complaints of clients? How will you give them or answer their inquiries properly in a way na, of course, they are stressed na kasi hindi na sila nakakapag-settle eh. So, kailangan mo i-explain sa kanila what are the options that are given to them or kung paano ma-resolve yung mga problems nila in a way na para hindi sila kuhanan ng sasakyan or ma-foreclose yung mga properties. And then, of course, customer-related yon. Being a manager, customer-related. And then, magdi-deliver ka din ng mga kailangan mong deliverable sa management. And then, tatlo yan. So, kailangan yung management goals. And then, yung how will you able to explain to the subordinates paano i-handle ang mga clients, paano i-handle ang pressure, paano ma-reach yung goals. At the same time, we are also obliged to talk to dun sa mga clients na masyado na talagang maraming complaints and marami nang kailangan i-explain legally or dun sa mga process ng bangko.
Okay, with that said, you have mentioned that career really is a journey that we enter in our life po. And with that, can we ask you, from the things you've mentioned earlier, the problems and challenges you face, how do you handle it po?
Okay, especially in my line of work, you will be facing a lot of complaints, a lot of clients and customer rants, especially nowadays, ang mga tao, mas madali na silang maging irritant. Konting lang na sila sa dami siguro kasi ng involved na problem on a day-to-day basis. So, lagi mong tatandaan siguro na whatever your pressure, stress that you are handling on a day-to-day basis, it will just pass by. You just have to think na this is just a bad day, but tomorrow, you have to think of how will you resolve the problem, how will you handle that particular problem, and if you're really not cannot handle it, you may ask anyone, whether your supervisor, whether your manager, whether your colleague in your office, on the office environment is very important.
So from the statements you said po a while ago, it reminded me of the quote, "The sun will always set, but it will always rise again."
Yes, and now let's move on to the next questions. Aside from handling, as a leader myself in this group, who also wants to be a better leader and a manager, can I personally ask you are there ways to encourage your team for promoting teamwork? And are there tips to motivate them specifically?
Siguro all I can say is always connect with them, always respect their contributions, opinions, and always ask their opinions. Kasi palagi mo tatandaan na two brains are better than one. Not necessarily you're a leader, you're a manager, you are always right. Being a manager or being a leader is not always giving them an instruction. Always remember that you have to walk the talk. Which means, bago ka magbigay ng instruction, you should know better what are the things that needed to be done. So, hindi lang siya, what are the things, kailangan alam mo. So, when a problem arise, or when meron silang mga hindi naiintindihan, all you have to do is just show them an example on how to handle that or how to answer those inquiries. So, on that cases, sila, magiging sila sa'yo. Ma-earn mo yung respect, yung trust nila na whenever na may ginagawa silang project or may ginagawa silang preparations na para sa presentation, whenever na magkakamali sila, you're always there to correct and lead them or nandun ka para i-guide sila. So, I think that is the best feeling of being a leader and being a manager. Yung makikita mong, yung tinuro mo sa kanila, lessons that you teach them, na-apply nila, and on their own, magagawa na nila without you supervising them. That is, for me, being a good leader and a manager.
Katulad nga po ng sabi nila that, managing is all about changing your mindset from me to we. That's all about the essence of being a leader.
Exactly.
Now, let's move on to the next question. There's also a famous saying that being a manager is all about leading. Do you believe in this saying, or do you believe that being a manager is more than just being a leader?
I think pareho lang siya for me. But first and foremost is being a manager and a leader is all about teamwork. You're just leading them, you're just explaining them na eto yung gusto ng output ng management, and you as the higher position instructed you to disburse kung ano yung gusto mangyari ng management. Then it's all about the manager or the leader and the subordinates kung paano i-deliver yung mga kailangan tasks and responsibilities ng manager. So for me, it's manager and the leader, it's same for me.
So, with the 5 years of experience you have in being a manager po, what is one lesson that your job has taught you that you think everyone, kahit ano pong profession, should learn at some point in their life po?
Being in a BDO for 15 years and handling so much pressure and stress, lalo na in my line of nature of work, which is legal, siguro is kahit saan tayo mapunta, in every company or business that we are on it, there's always a pressure, there's always a task, and there's always a deliverables that we have to deliver and comply with. So, you just have to learn continuously. You just have to cope with the changes. You just have to cooperate and coordinate with your subordinates. It is always we, not you. So, most importantly, try to make an advance knowledge and study doon sa mga nagiging changes every now and then. And always work with the process na alam mong nandun ka sa line, yung sa tama or sa nasa guidelines ka para hindi ka, whenever na may binibigay sa yung task, alam mo how to deliver it, and alam mo sa mga tao mo how to teach them properly and guide them properly as well. So, para pare-pareho kayong maabot yon on an everyday. And then, different people is different subordinates, iba-ibang ugali, iba-ibang ethics. So you just have to learn them. You just have to compromise kung ano yung pros and cons nila, kung ano yung weaknesses and strengths nila. So as a manager and as a leader, you have to see them. Hindi sila pantay-pantay, hindi pare-pareho ang kanilang mga ugali, at the same time yung mga work of ethics nila, at the same time yung mga kung saan sila mas magaling. So you have to assess them individually and then give them the task that they can deliver more based on their based on doon sa mga nila, what do you call this, yung strength nila. So para pare-pareho kayo magpe-perform, and basically as a group, as a team, you will work on it, you will deliver it, and then pareho-pareho kayong aangat eventually.
You know, from the few questions we have provided, we have really learned a lot. Now, for our dear viewers who's mostly people aspiring to be like you din po, what's one advice you would like to give them po?
One advice, okay. Siguro you have to balance your life. On a day-to-day basis, it's not important na puro trabaho na lang talaga ang magiging focus on your life. You have to balance it para hindi ka ma-stress, hindi ka ma-overwork, hindi ka rin naman mapabayaan yung trabaho mo. You know, being a manager, syempre may target ka rin na eventually, as years goes by, kailangan umangat din naman yung position mo sa bank. But, you really don't have to naman na i-sacrifice din yung family mo or yung self-fulfillment mo, kung ano yung gusto mo. It's a matter of balance. It's a matter of time management. So, it's a matter of focus kung ano ang mas importante on a day-to-day basis. You just have to work it properly. So, yun lang.
And lastly, may we ask po, what is one word or phrase to describe the art of being a manager for you?
Being a manager is fulfilling and seeing your subordinates doing well, that they are learned from you. That's all.
And that concludes the questions for today's podcast. Thank you for sharing your experiences and informative managing tips with our listeners and us. Your suggestions and expertise have provided the valuable advice that we will keep in mind as we learn about this respectable field. We will put it into practice not only to apply in management, but also in our day-to-day life.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and with that po, we present to you this small token of appreciation po for your participation and your time with us po. Thank you so
Really,
much.
thank you so much.
It was indeed a mind-opening and very informational episode. So now I want to ask you, Charmaine, what are the 3 words or phrases that stuck to you?
The 3 phrases that stuck to me is, first of all, of course, is walk the talk. And then, you know, as Ma'am Janice mentioned, we need to manage and practice time management in our life to create a balance. And what about you?
Well, for me, the first word or phrase that stuck to me was coordination. We really have to coordinate with the people we work with. Second is, a problem always passes. And the third is, don't be shy to ask for help. And with that, to our dear viewers and listeners, we leave you with a quote. It's the job of the manager not to light the fire of motivation, but to create an environment to let each person's personal spark of motivation blaze. By Frederick Herzberg.
Thank you so much again for listening to another episode of Over a Cup of Tips. I hope you learned a few tips in today's episode. Again, I am Charmaine Hernandez.
And I'm Daniel Sarmiento.
And we are your hosts for today's episode. May music na lang doon. Okay.